Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and I am the hostess of a show called Let's Live. And we are starting a brand new project this evening that we're very excited about. I've written a book, and it's been going on for several years, called Reflexology for the Spirit. And we are going to be talking the book. And we won't be doing it every week, but we should be doing it once or twice a month, and then it will go onto YouTube. If you're interested in connecting with this in another way, the book is also in the process of being blogged. And you can read the book at Reflexology for the Spirit blog. And we're going to start off. The Reflexology for the Spirit practitioner here, who is going to be offering reflexology, which you will be seeing as I talk about the book, is Arlene Ferieri. We are now in Woodstock, New York, and this is the last day of January in 2014. And we have a wonderful model here who has a very fetching set of toenails because her 11-year-old son painted her toenails, and they're a really nice shade of blue, and I think that's a fun thing that you've got going there. Arlene is going to be offering reflexology, a fairly standard reflexology for the spirit session, and right now she is offering warm-ups. And there are all different kinds of ways that you can warm up the feet. She's working the ankles now, which I've always taught is a very important thing in reflexology for the spirit, because as you will learn as we read along, the ankles tell us so much. And so a reflexology for the spirit practitioner is always interested when he or she does warm-ups about what you find in the ankles. Are the ankles stiff? Are they swollen? Do they feel uncomfortable? How is it that these ankles are this evening? Because that's very important. Ankles are very spiritual parts of our body because they move us forward in life. And if the person is having trouble moving forward in life, you're going to know it right away. So we're going to start with an introduction of reflexology for the spirit. And I'm going to start actually with some just really basic information. And the first thing that I'm going to do is do the dedication, because I think that's so important. One of the things that I learned after I began writing my own book is that it's really important when you're going to read a book to read things like the dedication and the acknowledgement and the introduction and all those things, because they tell such stories. And my book is dedicated to two groups of people, and the first person that I am dedicating this book to is Marge Durso. She is the person who taught me reflexology, and she studied reflexology under Eunice Ingham. And Marge Durso was very brave in how she healed people and how she dealt with people. She was not afraid to be cutting edge. She worked in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and she taught thousands of foot reflexology students, and we are scattered throughout the world. So her influence has rippled out beyond, way beyond Washington, D.C. And of course, without her willingness to give of herself in any way that she possibly could, this book would never have happened. And of course, I dedicate this book also to reflexology students everywhere. And there are people studying reflexology all over the world, because reflexology is a world-class modality now. If you go on the net, if you find books, if you start looking around, you're going to find foot reflexologists on every continent, in almost every country. And reflexology students are really wonderful people, because you're giving much more than you realize. When a student allows a teacher, when you allow a person to become your teacher, you are giving so much, because you're venturing down a totally unknown path. And that's such a brave undertaking. There's so many people out there who would like to learn something, but they haven't quite got the courage together yet to go down that unknown path. So if you are a student, you have already taken that dive off the high board. And your willingness to ask questions and your willingness to come to class and read the books and participate in the learning process stretches your teacher's knowledge, and that makes the teacher better. It's the students that make the teacher good, not the teacher's education or the teacher's training. So without all of you, without students everywhere, this book would never have been possible. I had a lot of help on this book, and I actually have a couple of co-authors. One is my daughter, Michelle Garner, who lives in Arizona, and the other one is my daughter, Jeanette Nearhood, who lives in Long Beach, California. And these two young women, my daughters, worked with me very carefully through the years and have really been a part of this book. And so here we go. We say that, and this is true, reflexology for the spirit does so much for a person without asking for an awful lot in return. And it's very true. You know, in order for Arlene to offer reflexology to our model, all we had to do was put out a place for the model to be. And this could have been a chair with her feet off the edge on an ottoman. This could have been a recliner. This could have been your feet over the end of a sofa. This could have been sitting in a bus station somewhere in the world and sticking your foot out and somebody sitting on a little stool and offering you foot reflexology. Reflexology doesn't demand an awful lot because there are thousands of different kinds of body work available in this country and throughout the world. And in many, many cases, you have to do a lot in order to get the body work. For example, in massage, you have to have a very quiet room. You have to have privacy. The temperature's got to be right. You have to have all of these conditions in order to offer a successful massage or many other types of body work to people. But with reflexology, all you have to do is get access to either the feet or the hands or the ears, and you're good to go. So it doesn't make any difference whether you're in a crowded room or whether you're in somebody's healing space or whatever. If somebody's willing to offer reflexology to your feet, then you are going to receive a wonderful session. And right now, Arlene is working the lymphatic system. And I will mention this throughout this session, different things that Arlene might be doing. And reflexology is an old modality, and we will talk about that later. But it has come so far in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, actually it's probably a little bit more than that, back in the 80s, when I was a practicing reflexologist in the Washington, D.C. metro area, even with 4,000 students, reflexology was not all that well known. And it has moved forward to such an extent because 20 years ago, if you mentioned reflexology to a physician, he would look at you like, huh? And you know, now cosmetic surgeons use reflexologists, cancer patients use reflexologists, sports medicine people, physical therapists, all kinds of mainstream medical people use foot reflexologists on their staff. Right before I left the Washington, D.C. metro area, for example, I was working at a spa. I actually worked at two spas. One was a healing spa that offered only therapeutic modalities, and the other one was a spa that was owned by an esthetician. So she was doing a lot of work on people's faces, and a cosmetic surgeon approached her, and she began to do all kinds of things for him and for his patients. And one of the things that he built into the price of any cosmetic surgery was X number of visits to this spa for reflexology because he wanted his clients to relax and he wanted his clients to have the best possible results. So he said that if they came and got reflexology twice a week or once a week or whatever he determined, that they would relax better and they would heal better. So if you went to this physician, you got reflexology. And you know, if you are a cancer patient now and you go to Memorial Sloan Kettering, you have an opportunity to receive reflexology because they not only offer reflexology to their patients, and there is, I understand, no extra charge for that when it's an inpatient situation, but they do that. They not only believe that because it offers relaxation, it offers the opportunity for homeostasis, but there is the realization that it's so important that now reflexologists from all over the country now go to Memorial Sloan Kettering and get trained. So, you know, here we have the fanciest cancer hospital in the area, and they have absolutely no problem with reflexology being offered to their patients, and they encourage it. That's one of the things that they really want. So there is this ever expanding sphere where reflexology has found a home. It's kind of rippling out. I love to use that term ripple, but it really does ripple out. And so if you have a chronic condition, or if you just want to feel your best, a regular reflexology session is not a bad thing to have. And a regular reflexology for the spirit session is even better. So it's a non-invasive therapy. As you can see, we're not inflicting any pain on our model here. And that's something that is part of the modern focus of reflexology, especially reflexology for the spirit. There's not an awful lot of discomfort or pain involved. Years ago, if you went and had reflexology, the chances are that somebody might hurt your foot, and that was part of the therapy. But we have learned in the modern years that it isn't necessary to hurt somebody in order to heal them, and in order to bring about homeostasis, quite often it's better if you don't. So that's one of the modern things. And of course, reflexology sessions, reflexology for the spirit sessions usually take no more than an hour. And if you're an elderly person, they may not even take more than 15 or 20 minutes in the beginning. And then after a while, you build up some time. And you can bring healing to many parts of the body because the entire body is reflected in energy points that are in the bottom of the foot. So when you work the foot, you are covering the entire body. We start off with the toes being up where the head is, and then we go down to the base of the spine, which is down at the base of the heel. So you have this entire body reflected in the base of the foot. And it's mapped out on the feet, and there will be maps on the wall in the future, but for now, we're just talking about some other things, so we don't necessarily have the maps in the future. By the way, if you are watching this, and if you are a reflexology student, and if you think this is very, very interesting, I'd love to learn more. There's always the Reflexology for the Spirit blog, and there are also maps that you can, reflexology maps, which you can get off of the computer now for no cost. You can, if you'd like, order a booklet of the maps that I have drawn. If you will go to the blog and under the comments section, just write in that you'd be interested in the maps and the charts, then we will be more than happy to send you a set of maps and charts for $15, and that's with the postage and everything. So we have the points in the feet relating corresponding to all of the points in the body, which opens up pathways for healing. And of course, where the reflexology for the spirit comes in is in the spiritual aspect of healing. This is where many of our diseases have a spiritual component. And in reflexology for the spirit, we address not only the physical part and not only the mental part, not only the emotional part, but the spiritual part as well. Because the bottoms of the feet and the tops of the feet and the ankles and whatever do tell a spiritual story for all of us as reflexologists to learn. And in reflexology for the spirit, the client and the reflexologist become partners. So I refer to the people that we're working on and offering healing to as our client partners, because with a reflexology for the spirit practitioner, you join hands with your client partner and you work together to offer homeostasis to your partner and to bring healing to your partner. And so when we find this, we work with an intention. It's very important, or somewhat important, if you're going to offer reflexology of the spirit sessions to a person, that you gather an intention. And if the client is not interested in offering an intention, you can offer an intention. You can offer that your session brings about homeostasis, which offers healing on all levels, including the spiritual. And of course, this book that we're talking about here, that I'm reading to you, that I'm blogging on the blog, it's a really handy, ready reference book. And as you watch this on YouTube, you will be able to see how the foot is reflexed and to see how it works, and you will be able to see how you can do it. And this is going to help. This book and the video and the blog are going to help. It's written for students and practitioners at all levels of experience, because many people practice reflexology, but they don't necessarily practice reflexology for the spirit. So this can bring a new level of healing to your practice. And whether you have, for example, a diabetic client with allergies or a teenager with acne, every set of feet brings about a new set of challenges. And so it's really important that we help you to learn to organize your information so that it's very usable, and to help you find out what you need without a lot of searching. And we've organized, my daughters and I have organized a lot of common ailments and systems that are available for easy reference. So things are going to be really easy to find, and we are, as we go through the sessions, going to be making reference to an awful lot of diseases that are very common in our culture, and how reflexology for the spirit can offer help to them. And one of the things that we do use in reflexology for the spirit is essential oils. And I really recommend that if you don't use essential oils, that maybe you venture down that path and introduce yourself to some essential oils. Tonight, Arlene is using lavender. There are a lot of essential oils out there on the market, and it's hard to choose. There are so many out there that it's hard to choose. So I have a couple of guidelines. One is that you try to find a line of essential oils that have batch numbers. If a bottle has a batch number, that's a pretty good indication that you've got a professional essential oil in your hand. And it is a real indication that it is, healing quality, that it is a pure quality. There are a lot of essential oils out there that do not have batch numbers, Try to find yourself a line of oils that has batch numbers. And it's also helpful if you can find a set of essential oils where there is some kind of training that goes with it. Because it's important to know how to use essential oils. And of course, that's a whole other career field. Aromatherapy is a very extensively used therapeutic healing modality. There are not that many certified aromatherapists in this country, but you can, if you do some searching, there are several very good quality essential oil companies that do offer a very good product, and they do teach you how to do with it. And I will offer some information about essential oils as we go along. It is not my main focus. I do not want to distract from the reflexology for the spirit. The essential oil classes will come later. I will say this about essential oils tonight. And what I'm going to say is that Arlene is using lavender. And I was in the Open Center several years ago taking a class with, the class we probably had 35 very accomplished healers in different fields. And we were all learning whatever it was we were learning. And so the teacher wanted to know about essential oils and how many people, use essential oils. And there was one woman there who really stuck out in my mind because she is a Reiki practitioner and a Reiki teacher, and she's a yoga teacher. And she uses 2 oils. And this is the most, this woman had this down to the bare, that you can't get much more compact than that. And she uses lavender exclusively on women, and she uses a blend called Valor on men. And that was it. But there are a lot of essential oils out there. There is a lot to choose from. And so you know, it's an interesting path. It's something that you can enjoy, certainly something that everyone can benefit from. And we will be talking about essential oils later in the book. Now, one of the things that I'm going to bring up here, something that we will be addressing in the future. I'm addressing it in the blog. I'm addressing it in the book. I'm going to be addressing it on the tape, on the video, on YouTube later on, is if you've got a client on the table who has a lot of issues, one of the things that you may encounter, and this is something that you will learn as we go along in the book, is how to teach your client to forgive people. One of the things that is really helpful as we go along the path to healing and wellness and homeostasis is that there are all these things out there that we have to forgive. Because until you can forgive, you can't let things go. And you've got to let things go at some point if you're going to heal. If especially what you have is a spirit, if there's a spiritual component to your issues. And there's a spiritual component to a lot of things out there. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Essential oils can positively impact this process. There are blends, you can make blends, there are blends that are focused on forgiveness, focused on letting go, and this is a really wonderful thing. So we will talk about this more in the future. We're also going to talk about the history of reflexology because it's glorious and it is interesting. Nobody gets bored listening to the history of reflexology. And the maps and charts, like I said a few minutes ago, you can get the maps and charts in a bookstore. You can get them in on the net. You can download them. There are a lot of them free on the net. And if you want to, you can buy mine. But in the bottom line with charts is that they're pretty much the same from one artist to the next. They're pretty much the same. We're also going to talk about how to set up your space. We're going to talk about encouraging your client partners to eat healthfully. And just one sentence, two sentences on that. If you can get your client partners to eat healthy, you're going to advance yourself and them on the path to wellness. And I have a very basic bottom line that many people have heard for many, many years. It's nothing new, but it's very, very true. And that is, if you've got a food product, or if you have something in your hands that has been designed to be eaten, and you look at the label, and there are words on that label, and you cannot read those words or understand how to pronounce those words, then that is not a food. It is a product that has been manufactured to eat, but that doesn't make it food. And you want to try to avoid those products which have been manufactured for eating, but which are not food. And I do want to emphasize here that reflexology is a low-tech field. We are not looking at rocket science. We are not looking at taking terribly scary exams or whatever. We're not looking at thousands of things to memorize. Practitioners use their hands, their brains, and their hearts, and we don't use machines. And generally speaking, a reflexology for the spirit practitioner who has 25 sessions a week is a full-time practitioner. So, and it's relatively easy to establish a practice without a lot of hoopla. You don't have to have a lot of TV ads. You don't have to have much. I even know people who don't even have business cards. But you do need to learn some guerrilla marketing techniques, and we will go over that much later, several weeks down the pike. And reflexology for the spirit is adaptable to other modalities. It works well with yoga. I've had several yoga teachers learn reflexology for the spirit because they've got these yoga students, and many yoga students have health issues, and then they offer reflexology to their yoga students, so that works out very well. And then, of course, with reflexology, you've got you can study Reiki practitioner. You can study to be a massage therapist if you want. And you can also include essential oils, flower remedies, and all kinds of other things that reflexology mixes with. And the bottom line here is that with reflexology, 1 and 1 equals 3. So that if you combine reflexology and you combine Reiki, then you're going to give it a boost. If you combine reflexology with a trip for a yoga class, you're going to give those things a boost. So I say that 1 and 1 equals 3. And of course, one of my favorite modalities to combine with reflexology is Reiki. Reiki has no known contraindications. It has no ill side effects, and it can be used on virtually anyone. And it is a really wonderful thing to offer to people. So we're going to go on down now to the next section. We're going to start with chapter 1, which is a little bit about the history of reflexology. Reflexology is pretty much as old as the hills. I mean, it really goes back there. The early history of reflexology takes us back to China, India, Japan, Egypt, Greece, North Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, the Mediterranean, South America, and North America. So it was the world over. Now we're talking a long time ago. We're talking thousands of years ago. And historians tell us that Egyptians practiced both hand and foot reflexology 2500 BC. And there is a physician's tomb in a burial ground at Saqqara, Saqqara, and that's in Egypt. And this picture you may find in some reflexology books. This is the picture of two Egyptians receiving reflexology. One of them is receiving foot reflexology and one of them is receiving hand reflexology. And it's a very, very famous picture, and it comes from a wall painting in the physician's tomb. And so, you know, this takes us back to the mid-2000s BC. And then, of course, if you ever are in Japan and you go to the medicine teacher temple in Nara, there's a stone carving depicting the soles of Buddha's feet in the carving. Now, that dates back to 790 AD. In the Buddhist tradition, the feet or the footprints represent the entire being. So, for centuries after Buddha's death, people did not recreate the great teacher's face or body. But eventually, artists began producing images of the feet representing the entire spiritual being. So this is a huge, the concept there is enormous. And of course, it's just beautiful. And then, of course, in India, there are the paintings of Vishnu, and that's the Hindu god's feet, with symbols corresponding to reflexology points. And of course, by the time that these famous wall paintings and carvings became a reality, reflexology was an accepted healing modality in much of the world. And reflexology has been recorded in ancient Chinese writings, describing pressure applied not only to the feet, but as well as to the hands. So Chinese reflexology is very old, and of course Ayurveda is an ancient Indian form of medicine which does incorporate Ayurvedic reflexology. And there's actually a woman whose name has escaped me now, who's traveling the world, offering to teach, she does teach people Ayurvedic reflexology. Now, moving on, we're going to move on through this. We're going to move now to Europe, to the 1500s. And we are going to go to zone therapy. Zone therapy was the easiest map that there is of the bottoms of the feet because it's very simple. You put the 2 feet together, and they are the median parts of the feet are together. And as you do this, where is the middle where the 2 feet meet, you've got the spine. And then you divide each foot into linear, lengthwise, vertically, 5 different points on each side. Arlene, do you think you could maybe demonstrate that for the so if we have the 2 feet together, if you have the 2 feet together, then where the 2 feet meet represents the spine, the spinal cord, the vertebrae, and then this foot is divided into 5 sections vertically, and then 5 sections vertically. And that's where each of the diseases can be found. For example, if you have a pain right there in the foot, or if you have, let's say, okay, here is the spinal cord here, here's the vertebrae here, okay, and then you have a pain here in your body, which could possibly be a pulled muscle, it could be whatever it is, I don't know, it could be a gallstone, it could be whatever. What you would do is you would go over to, since it's this side of the vertebrae, which is here, you're going to go over to the right foot, and then you're going to go to the right side above the waistline, and you're going to go right there, and there's where it is, and that's where you work. It's really, really simple. So we're going to cover that in a more in-depth thing in the future, but that is to give you an idea of how this works. So we go to the 1500s. You've got 5 vertical zones on each foot. So you've got 10 vertical zones within the 2 feet. And now this is from the 1500s. We still use zone therapy today. I mean, it's bona fide. It works. It's effective. And so now that started in the 1500s. Now let's move forward to the 20th century and to the United States. And we had a Dr. William Fitzgerald. And Dr. Fitzgerald practiced zone therapy. So here we have, at the turn of going from the 19th to the 20th century, zone therapy and a Dr. Fitzgerald. And he used both hands and feet. He applied zone therapy to the hands as well as zone therapy to the feet. And he preferred the hands. And he and a Dr. Bowers co-wrote a book about zone therapy. And then there was a doctor who studied under Dr. Fitzgerald, a Dr. Joseph Riley. And Dr. Joseph Riley and his wife are important in this book because they are the link to Eunice Ingham. And Eunice Ingham was a woman who lived in Pennsylvania, and she was a practicing reflexologist before and during and after World War II. And Dr. Ingham was the one who put foot reflexology on the map. She was the one she used foot reflexology. She did not use hand reflexology. And for the longest time, hand reflexology was not all that important later in the 20th century. There was a woman by the name of Carter that wrote a couple of books about reflexology, hand reflexology, but primarily Mrs. Ingham, Eunice Ingham, worked on the feet. And she was an incredible woman in Pennsylvania. And so we have these changes. We go from way into the back, right into the present, and here we are at the beginning of the 21st century. And there are foot reflexologists the world over, and now we are learning reflexology for the spirit. And there are many, many books and videos and tapes and things being offered about reflexology all over the place. And if you want to know more, all you have to do is you can go to my blog, Reflexology for the Spirit blog. You can go to the library and check out a book. You can go to the bookstore and buy books, or you can watch more or you can watch more of these videos. And the next question that we have is, what is reflexology for the spirit? Reflexology works with reflex points, nerve endings, in the hands, feet, and ears that correspond to specific areas throughout the body. Now, this book focuses on the feet, but that doesn't mean that hand reflexology is not good, and it definitely doesn't mean that otolaryngology is not good. That's ear reflexology. Auricular therapy does not mean that auricular therapy is not effective. What that means is that we are focusing on the feet. That's what that means. But the reflex points are also always in the hands and ears as well. And it's a system which may help many existing health conditions. And of course, just working the lobes of your ears can be a very, very good help. And the reflex points offer a map which is easy to use. The left side of the body is on the left foot, and the right side of the body is on the right foot. And reflexology is a natural whole body modality. So because it's such a natural thing and because it makes so much sense, many people have an aptitude for being a reflexologist. And what we're dealing with in reflexology is the energy links and the systems of which our bodies are made. Students are often surprised at how logical, how easy it is for reflexology for the spirit to make sense. The brain is reflected in the large toe. That's right up there where the head is. The lower spine is in the heel, and the internal organs are in between. So this is, it just all seems to make sense. And the first place that a disease or an imbalance can be detected is quite often in the feet. That was one of the first things I learned from Marge Durso, and I'm passing that on to you as one of the first things. You're going to find that you're working along, you're working on somebody's foot, and all of a sudden you're going to feel something, or the client partner is going to feel something. And right away, this is something that may not have manifested itself anywhere in the body yet, but it's getting ready to, because it has manifested itself in the feet. And right now it's kind of flu season, and a lot of times when people have flu and colds and things, their feet are very sensitive. Their feet are sore. Their hands are sore. This is this virus manifesting itself in your hands and feet. And we know that from people who have mental issues, that quite often, if they become very distressed, that their feet are very painful. And sometimes their feet are so painful that you cannot work their feet. You have to work their hands instead. We see when we're working, not see, feel. Well, we do see things. When we're working a person's feet, if there are issues, we describe these issues as crystals, as resistance, as mushiness, as emptiness, and as hollows. Now, crystals, you feel the crystals when you're working somebody's feet, and all of a sudden it feels like there's little grains of salt in your feet. That's crystals. And resistance is where you're working along, you're trying to work on somebody's feet, and all of a sudden you can't get your thumb in there. You're working along and it's like you're working on concrete or something. We call that resistance. And then mushiness is where you're working along on somebody's feet, and all of a sudden you think you're working on a sponge, a wet sponge. Well, that's mushiness. And then emptiness is where you're working along and all of a sudden your thumb just goes in that foot and or in that hand. And so that's called a hollow. And all of these different things have meanings, which we are going to learn about as we study the book and as we read the blog and as we see the videos on YouTube. Reflexology for the spirit practitioners include spiritual observations as they manifest in the feet. So while your regular reflexology practitioner is concerned just with the crystals, resistance, the mushiness, the emptiness, and the hollows, the reflexology for the spirit practitioner is also concerned with the different colors that are found on the bottom of the feet. They are concerned with corns and calluses and bunions and broken bones and where these things are located, and places where there's a lot of crusty buildup and skin buildup on feet. So, the reflexology for the spirit practitioner notes all these things, what is there and where it is, and what color the feet are is extremely important to a reflexology for the spirit practitioner. And then it's important here, foot reflexology is not massage. It is the results of the reflexology can be felt all over the entire body, but we manipulate the tissues of the hands, feet, and ears only. So it is not massage. And we work on a term called homeostasis. So if there's one word you really want to remember in reflexology or reflexology for the spirit, it's homeostasis. And that is the return to balance. And it generally does not happen overnight. It doesn't happen the first time you receive a reflexology session. It can. I've seen it happen a couple of 3 times. But basically, it takes a few sessions before you begin to feel a difference. Because it can be very profound, it can be very dramatic, but for the most part, reflexology offers a kind of a quiet, a relief, improvement until you begin to become more aware of your body, how your body is reacting to the reflexology for the spirit. And encourage your client partners, and we've talked about this a little bit earlier. If your client visits a yoga teacher, goes and takes a yoga class whenever, or goes to get acupuncture, or goes for massage or whatever, have them schedule that appointment very close to your appointment. That way, these 2 appointments are going to dovetail together, and they are going to work together to increase the flow of homeostasis in the body, which is very important. And we are now going to embark on a list of some of the conditions and issues and treatments of how reflexology for the spirit practitioners address the whole person, because we do address the whole person. And what I would like for you to do with this is consider this list, and it is going to take several sessions, several YouTube sessions, several blog sessions, if you buy the book, several chapters before we get through with them. But these are the issues that many people have and they're dealing with. And the first one is acne. I'm going alphabetical with these. That's not that one's more important than the other one or whatever, but it is what it is. And if anyone out there has an issue that you would like to have addressed, if you will go to my blog, Reflexology for the Spirit, if you will go to the blog and send a comment, send a note, or send me an email, reflexologyforthespirit@gmail.com. Ask me to include this disease or issue or whatever. I will include it, and I will talk with you about how we're going to treat it, how it manifests itself, how you can work with it, and all of the different things. But we're going to start with acne, because it's pretty widespread, and both adolescents and adults can be bothered with this disease. And the bottom line with acne is stress. Regular reflexology sessions help, especially if used in conjunction with antibiotics and exercise, appropriate diet, and a good skin cleansing program. Those you're going to have to work all together, because you've got to get to a professional healthcare provider that can give you, your client partner, the medications to deal with the infections that are present in advanced acne and even intermediate acne. You know, as long as it's very superficial, then diet and a cleansing program and learning what's going to work for you and what won't work for you is one thing. But beyond a certain point, you've got to get rid of the infection. So you really do need to go to a healthcare provider that can help you do it. And you need to encourage someone to see a dermatologist, and not only to see a dermatologist, but to do what that dermatologist says. And I don't mean that you're going to have to see this dermatologist forever, but it's really important. You've got to get rid of the infection. And then once you can, with the reflexology, you can relieve the stress, you can relieve the anger, and the client partner can move forward. And also you need to understand that many adults and many teenagers both who are under stress may also be taking another type of medication which may be causing the acne, and you need somebody that knows whether that is or not. When that happens, that's called, acne becomes an iatrogenic disease. It becomes an iatrogenic disease if the acne is created by someone who is trying to take care of another disease. In other words, they're treating another disease and the person is having a reaction to what it is that they're being given. And we have hormonal changes also can cause acne in women with their monthly cycle. And also, acne sufferers are dealing with a dissatisfaction of self. So we've got this stress, we've got this dissatisfaction of self, and this tremendous pressure. 100%. People who are really battling with acne, there is somebody in that person's life who is really not giving an inch, who is not letting up one bit. And the stress is just pounding and pounding and pounding and does not stop. And so the stress is manifesting itself in acne. And regular reflexology sessions are fabulous for this. It offers an hour of really working for a person and helping them get well and helping them achieve homeostasis. And so people suffering from acne need to schedule regular visits to the Reflexology for the Spirit practitioner. An occasional visit to the reflexologist is help, but it's going to not do an awful lot. Essential oils that are effective are tea tree, geranium, vetiver, lavender, there's lavender again, patchouli, the chamomiles, either German or Roman, rosewood, cedarwood, orange, clove. So there's a good selection of essential oils that you can use. And when working the feet of a person who has acne, work on the immune system, and right after that go with the nervous system. We'll go into why later, but start there and include the solar plexus. A solar plexus hold is one of the best things that you can do for a person with acne. Work the endocrine system, because you're going to try to bring homeostasis to this person. And with acne, the endocrine system is a good way to go. The digestive system, you want to keep that digestive system cleaned out. The urinary system, the liver, and then you want to end up with the solar plexus. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming to this program tonight, whether you come through YouTube, whether you're watching on Woodstock Public Access Television. I want to thank you if you decide to go to the blog, Reflexology for the Spirit blog. And I want to thank you if you decide to purchase a book. And I invite you to come again. We will be having another class soon. And the next one we have, we're going to start with allergies. And we'll be covering several sections. We'll be covering allergies, and we're going to be covering arthritis and ankle breaks and strains. And once again, thank you very much. And thank you so much, Arlene. It's been wonderful having you, and I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Thanks.